What's going on YouTube? Alan here with DustyHikers.com, and I'm super excited to be talking to you today about the Trail 2650 Campo from Danner. All right, so this is going to be a review of this shoe. I spent a month walking around on this shoe on trails and just around my house. So I've got quite a bit of mileage, probably about 20 miles so far on the shoe. And so I have a lot to say about it. All right, so if you're interested in this shoe, stand by because I'm gonna go through everything that I did to test this shoe and my impressions. All right, so first impressions, I actually purchased 4 other pairs of hiking shoes. I've never owned a hiking shoe before, and so I reviewed all of those. You can go check out that video, I'll link it here. But I really wanted this to be the shoe that I fell in love with. I just think it looks amazing. I know Danner poured their heart and soul into this hiking shoe. 2650 actually is the number of miles that the Pacific Crest Trail is. So this has got a lot of like through hiker DNA in it. And so there's a lot that's built into this shoe. It's less than $150, but I think it's pretty high quality and it's a pretty good value if you want a very high performance hiking shoe. All right, so my first impressions are really good. Straight out of the box, I walked in the shoe and I had 0 issues initially. Then I did have some issues, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I think for a lot of people, this is going to be a shoe that you're going to enjoy walking in. And I live here in South Texas, and so it's super hot all the time. And this is a shoe designed, Campo refers to the place in California where the PCT starts so if you're gonna hike it from south to north and it's hot, it's a desert down there, which is where I live as well. I don't live in Southern California, I live in South Texas. And so this is a shoe that I had a lot of hope for. Ultimately, I decided on a different shoe, but again, you can go check out that video to see which shoe I chose for my upcoming trip to Italy. All right, so let's start with the uppers. The uppers are a combination of this mesh material. They also have this coating. I think it's a thermoplastic urethane coating on the toe to kind of protect the mesh. And then there's these, in the middle of the foot, this is leather that has holes in it. I don't know if you can see that, but it also has this exo heel thing, I think is what Danner calls it. It's not as big as the one that was on the original 2650, the non-Campo version, which looked strange. And so I'm glad that Danner reduced this. This kind of helps with stability in your heel. I guess it's doing something back there. It doesn't, and maybe that's a good thing, right? If you don't feel the presence of it, but it's actually doing its job, it's probably better. So that's the uppers. The uppers, I would also say, it's like a sock kind of foot. So this shoe has a lot of athletic running shoe kind of DNA in it. The way it's constructed, it feels more like a shoe that you would go running in, and it kind of looks like that as well. But this worked fine for me. Some people complain that it's too rigid or something, and it hits your feet in a strange way. That didn't bother me. So, I think the uppers are fine. I tested this shoe against 4 other shoes, and I tested their time to dry. So I dunked all of these shoes in water, against 4 other shoes, and these shoes dried out faster than any of the other shoes. Which makes sense because they're a very minimalist design, and just the way it's built, it's going to be a shoe that's going to dry out very quickly. So if you are considering hiking in a place where you think you might get wet and you don't want Gore-Tex, which a lot of people don't, this could be a really good shoe for that. The other thing I think that's interesting, I said before, they put a lot of like through hiker DNA in this. This little loop right here, it's not for your shoelaces, it's actually to hook on a gaiter, which is a thing that you would put over the shoe and over your ankle that would fit right here and come up and kind of hug the bottom of your leg to keep dirt and debris out of your shoe. And it also has this pad back here, which is kind of like Velcro, and I think that's something that you could attach something here to hold the gaiter down. I'm not quite sure what that's for, but I think that's what that's for. Okay, so moving down to the insole. The insole is interesting. It's super narrow. It's also very thin, so you're not going to get a lot of cushion from the insole, but I guess it's effective. It works, right? It's not it's not a showstopper. Okay, so the midsole, this is a very, very squishy midsole. When I was walking in these, it almost felt like my heel was compressing way down inside, and kind of like the heel was kind of like hugging, like the shoe was kind of hugging my heel as I walked. Almost like the shoes were worn out. It wasn't like that, but it was interesting, right? So these midsoles are super squishy. And very effective. I think you'd be able to walk many, many miles in these if they fit your foot and not have any issues with that. The outsole is Vibram, and it's amazing. I tested these shoes against 4 other shoes, and these had the grippiest outsole of all the other shoes that I tested. It's Vibram. It's their Mega Grip technology. It says right here, Mega Grip. You probably can't read that, but it's, I think, a really good balance between durability, so it is kind of a hard rubber, but also stickiness. And you can feel it, when you rub your hand on it, it really sticks to stuff. This sole is the 4060. My last pair of hiking shoes were the Danner Mountain 600s, which have kind of worn out. I have a heel strike, so the heel's worn off. And it's the same design of lugs and that sort of thing. So it has this split here in the heel, which actually works really well. It's kind of like an animal's foot, like a deer or something. It'll bend and move around objects to really grip on. So this is a really, really good sole. And these shoes are a little bit more expensive than the other shoes I tested, and I think that's why, is that they've put really high quality materials in this. All right, so again, I tested these shoes against 4 other shoes, so I highly encourage you to go check that video out if you're interested in buying a low hiker that is not Gore-Tex for like summer hiking. Go check out that video, and I do a complete review of 4 other shoes that are similar to Danner Trail 2650. So for protection, again, I tested these against 4 other shoes, and they did pretty well. So when you're hiking in a shoe like this, right, that's more, it's got sort of running shoe DNA in it. You don't have a lot of material between your foot and the trail. So one of the ways that, like you would with a boot, right, if you had a boot on with big hard rubber soles, you're going to be protected against pretty much anything because of that. One of the things that shoe manufacturers do, and Danner did this, is they put in a plate, a hard plastic plate above the midsole to protect actually below the midsole. So it's sandwiched here, you can see it. It's sandwiched between the outsole and the midsole. It's this red thing right here. It's a hard plastic plate that I think runs pretty much the full length of the shoe. But what I found when I was testing it, stepping on rocks, is that your foot comes down and steps on something, and the shoe doesn't really deflect or deform. You're just teetering now on this hard object, like a rock. I think it's effective, right? It's going to protect your foot. 5 years ago, I stepped on a rock that looked like a D4 dice from Dungeons and Dragons on my heel, and I got plantar fasciitis from that. I was running actually on a trail, and so with a system like this, you're going to have way more protection than if you were just hiking in running shoes. And so that would be another reason why you would want to get this shoe, is because of the protection specifically designed for hiking and running on trails. All right, final thoughts. Fit. This shoe runs very narrow. I have a totally normal foot. I've never purchased a wide shoe in my life. And when I got these, again, I really wanted these to be the shoes that I took to Italy with me, but they just didn't fit. They actually hurt my feet. And that's because at this point right here, I don't know if you can see this, maybe it's better this way, the shoe really cuts in even on the outside of your foot, and my foot just did not like the geometry of that, and so it was impinging too much on this portion of my foot, and it just didn't fit, and I was getting frustrated, so I actually got the wide version. So these do work now. I'm still not bringing them to Italy for other reasons, but because they're, I think, double E width, they're a little sloppy in the toe box, and I just would expect, if you're going to spend almost $150 on a pair of hiking shoes like this, that you wouldn't have to go up a width to be able to fit your foot in there, and then at the same time in the toe box have this kind of sloppiness. So when I put these on, you can see that there's just too much space in there because I don't really have a wide foot. And so I think, you know, the design of these is super high performance, right? It's like a Formula One or a Ferrari, and it's awesome, and it's going to work for a lot of people, but some people are just not going to fit in this shoe. And so that's one thing I would say. If you buy these, be prepared for them just not to work for you. They might, and I hope that they do, because I think they're amazing shoes. But that is an issue when you design a shoe like this, Danner, that's so precise. Not everybody's going to be able to wear it. It's just not going to work for everybody. So that's fit. If you buy these, they're probably going to be too narrow for you if you have a normal width foot. Maybe not. Hopefully not. Hopefully that doesn't happen to you. Break-in time, I would say there's 0 break-in time. You could buy these, take them out of the box, and then just go hiking, which is what I did. I bought these, and I think I walked 4 miles the first time I put them on, and I had no issues. So you're not going to get blisters or anything like that if you're walking, you know, for 4 or 5 miles. Maybe if you're walking 15, 20 miles in one day, you're going to get blisters, but you probably would with any shoe at that point. So the best use for these, I think, would be light backpacking or just day hiking. I wouldn't go on an extended, you know, like a 5-day trip with a super heavy backpack. I would bring boots or sturdier hiking shoes than these, right? So these are kind of high performance. They're built for the PCT. So people have maybe lighter backpacks, ultralight backpacking. And these shoes you're going to be able to move pretty fast in, and they're light, all right? So I think these are great shoes. I really like them. They're not my favorite. So of the 5 that I tested, these were not my top pick, but they are awesome. All right, thank you very much. If you enjoyed this video and you found something useful, please hit the like button, and that will send this video out to more people on YouTube, and so they can get a review of the Trail 2650 Campo from Danner. Thank you very much. I thought you were going to be the one that was coming with me to Italy, and I was super excited, and it just didn't work. But it's not you, it's me. You're awesome, you're perfect, really, and it's just not going to work. I'm sorry. I really wanted it to, but it's not.